Areas is what From Software perfects, most of the time. There are many factors into making an area good, like the setting. Is set in a beautiful castle or a dreaded poison swamp. Or just enemies, or just anything enemy related, like placement or variety. I really thought about including bosses or not, but I thought about Fair and Keep the other day. It is a bad area, it's a poison swamp, of course, but has one of the better bosses in the whole game, or series I might say, Abyss Watchers. And everyone likes Abyss Watchers. But no one likes Fair and Keep, but everyone still goes through Fair and Keep, repeat on repeat, just to fight the Abyss Watchers. So I think they have to be included in this ranking. Underrated areas, on the other hand, are mostly just forgotten areas, or just overshadowed by bigger areas, or have a lackluster boss. Starting off with Demon Souls, okay, I'm gonna come out and say it, I don't really like the world slash areas in this game, but what I did enjoy playing through was Island's Edge, World 4-1. Okay, maybe home to the worst or most annoying type of enemy, skeletons, but for some reason I really did like fighting them in this game. But they're actually arguably even the worst version of skeletons, because they roll and then they stunlock you, and then they hit you for a lot of damage, and just a bad day. With the footage for this area, it took me like 2 hours to get to New Game Plus, because I just kept dying over and over and over again. It was just a bad day. Moving on to the area itself, it is set in a cliff of a mountain. It is a fortress that has been broken down. It has some traps, and it's actually a hazard. Flying stingrays. They shoot you with green crystals, like when you're just throughout the whole area, and it's a horrible, horrible time. It is not fun. But at least you get to kill the Vanguard Demon. Yes, remember that tutorial boss who killed you in one hit? You can finally get revenge at it, which was very much needed. Now the boss of the area, Adjudicator. He is really disappointing, especially for his size. It is a gimmick boss where you have to keep hitting the big cut on his stomach for him to eventually go down, and then you hit the big golden bird on his head. And yeah, that's it. What about his moveset? Longest swing wind up ever. You have to try to get it. Anyways, to summarize. Bad enemies, flying stingrays, disappointing boss. So what exactly is good about this area? I don't really know. Moving on to Dark Souls, this area is so slept on. This area does not get talked about enough. You even got a freaking Titanite demon guarding the damn place. Darkroot Garden. Man, do I love this area. It is a beautiful forest with plantmen running about, hiding underground. You even got stone guards which like cast a spell on you which makes you walk slow and not even be able to roll. And to be fair, I did struggle quite a bit with them. Moving on to the bosses though of the area. There are two bosses in this area. One, which is the Moonlight Butterfly. The arena is I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest. It's just a bridge. Just literally just a bridge. Smallest bridge in the whole game. I don't even know if you can call it a bridge at that point. The fight itself, so you just keep rolling until it keeps shooting magic at you. So you keep rolling until it settles down, and then you have to hit it before the AoE attack happens, and then rinse and repeat. It is not really a fun fight for melee players mostly, but I don't think mage builds really have a fun time fighting them. But Miyazaki really redeemed himself with the other boss fight, the best doggy in the whole game, Sif the Great Grey Wolf. Satisfied in the series with him like limping around towards the end of the fight, and he's just trying to protect his owner and I think protect you at the same time. Just a brilliant fight overall. Moving on to Dark Souls 2, the Lost Bastille is my pick for the most underrated, mostly because it's one of the better areas in the game. The only boss in the area is the Ruined Sentinel. It is a gang fight with 3 of them, but it's pretty easy to handle. It is another castle, which I think is a common theme, but it's Dark Souls at the end of the day, you know? It kind of has to be a castle. Enemies, they're basic enemies, dogs, and these like stone guards, but it's definitely where the bad enemy placement and AI starts to shine in the game. You've got the pursuer following you, which just adds a whole like new tension when you're fighting other enemies. It is a pretty solid area, I would say. I just think the areas in this game aren't really that good. But when I think of areas in the game, I really only think about Lost Bastille. I can't think of any others. Or maybe Shrine of Mana, but like that's just like the worst one. It's just stuck in my brain forever. Moving on to Bloodborne, Hemwick Charnel Lane. This deserves more recognition. To be fair, it is home to the worst boss in the game, the Witches of Hemwick. It's not even hard, it's just bad. It's just bad, you know? Which gives the area a bad reputation, to be fair. But for some reason, this area, I just love how linear it is. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air. And I really loved fighting the witches. They're one of the better enemies in the whole game. Dogs, not so much. Moving on to Dark Souls 3, the areas in this game are very similar to one another with the same like grayish color scheme. But my pick was Anorlando. I know in Hell is an underrated area, but to be honest, I didn't know what actually to go for. So I just went with what's most memorable. And it was just an amazing callback. It was a big surprise to see who was still in the game. And rip Giant Blacksmith. You will be missed. You get to fight the Silver Knights once again, for the last time, sadly. And who doesn't like fighting the Knights, you know? They're amazing, you know? And now onto Aldrich though. Pretty important in the lore. Don't know what he did, but it's important. The fight is pretty good, which is a common trend in Dark Souls 3. Moving on to Sekiro. This was between two areas, but eventually came down to one. Hirata Estate. Definitely one of the better early areas, with amazing bosses and mini bosses. Lady Butterfly alone is enough to make the area worth going through. It is a skill check, especially early on in the game. Father Owl, which I've heard was one of the hardest bosses in the series. I haven't personally fought him though. You fight basic guards most of the time, and it's a nighttime area, which is actually rare. They barely do any nighttime areas. From Software, please fix that. It just adds to the whole stealth element, and I can't think about a bad thing about this area. Moving on to Elden Ring. I think they perfected the areas in this game. I don't think there's a single bad area. But underrated areas is a lost city covered by a mansion found in Mount Gelmir, the Volcano Manor. I'll never forget on the first day of release, getting abducted by one of those abductors in Raya Lucerquia, how do you say that? And getting transferred to the Volcano Manor. And you couldn't just warp out, so I had to explore a bit, and I thought I had to fight the two abductor bosses. And they were so hard because I was it's very early on in the game, so I thought I had to restart. But thankfully, I found out that you can just teleport out after getting on a bonfire or Grace. And yeah, and actually that might be the reason I actually fell in love with this area. It was a good scare, but it's actually a really good area with the snakes holding the freaking blaze of chaos. Goskin Noble, rather not speak about that. And the best gimmick boss of all time, From Software's Rykard. No other Stone Ruler type fight will ever come close to this. And it's even two phases was he's just a really cool boss with everything just crazy and going skulls getting thrown at you. I don't know. It's just an amazing boss. And those were my underrated areas in this series. Tell me down below what you think areas don't get enough love.